Hello, my name's Mike Trung, and I'm the Executive Director and the Digital Learning Architect for Azusa Pacific University. APU is located in Los Angeles, California, and we are one of the oldest and largest Christian universities in the United States. I have been in my role at Azusa Pacific University for 6 years, and as the Digital Learning Architect, I oversee their different modalities, whether it's online, blended, face-to-face, or distance learning. I help oversee the different programmings and developments in those areas. In this talk, I will be discussing teaching and learning in the fourth industrial revolution. The role of technology, as all of you know, has radically transformed many aspects of modern life, including how we communicate with friends and family, how we shop for things, how we get around, how we access information. And yet, I argue that the approaches to education in general and higher education in particular has remained fairly stagnant for the most part. And so in this presentation, I would like to challenge you to think critically about the role of technology in teaching and learning in the fourth industrial revolution. And in particular, I would like to discuss some of the ways technology is impacting the academy, providing some practical strategies to effectively engage students in the digital age. So let's get started. So what is Industry 4.0? So according to the World Economic Forum, there have been three previous industrial revolution that have taken place. The first was in the 1700s when the introduction of steam and how that changed how we ship things and how we do things. And in the 1800s, you have the introduction of electricity and mass production. And this is where you begin to see the Industrial Revolution, as we know it. And then in the 1960s and 70s, you begin to see the introduction of electronics, of information technology, and also the beginning of automated production. And then what the World Economic Forum is arguing is that we are now in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution, which involves cyber physical systems. So this is a period of time when computers and artificial intelligence and robots are very, very linked to how humans do our work. And so this is sort of what they are calling the fourth industrial revolution. In this next video, I will show it is going to kind of give you an overview of some of the changes that's happening in the fourth industrial revolution. So let's take a look at the video.
Once upon a time, business as usual was often good enough. No more. Where we are going, good enough is dead. In a world where everything is connected, where everything is equally excellent, where performance is reaching perfection, there's only one space left to innovate in: you. Right now, you are a central point in the raging tornado of change fueled by digitization, mobilization, augmentation, disintermediation, automation. Well, the list goes on. Science fiction is becoming science fact. Think about self-driving cars or computers that can learn and think. The way we work will never be the same. The skills we need will be dramatically different. Winning or losing are now happening faster than ever before. So what's your response? How will you discover new opportunities in one of the most transformational times in human history? Are you driving change, or are you being driven by it? Disruption has become the new normal. With change, it's always gradually, then suddenly, well, things really have stopped happening gradually. This change is exponential. Everything that used to be dumb and disconnected is now wired and intelligent. Cars, cities, ports, farms, even our bodies will be wired with sensors and will talk to each other. These game changers are also combinatorial. They amplify each other, creating a perfect storm of change. Quantum computing fuels big data. The Internet of Things fuels artificial intelligence and deep learning, which fuels robotics. However, anything that cannot be digitized or automated will become extremely valuable. Human-only traits such as creativity, imagination, intuition, emotion, and ethics will be even more important in the future, because machines are very good at simulating, but not at being. Yes, robots and software will do some of our work, but this will allow us to focus on things that cannot be automated. To imagine change squared, you've got to start engaging more with what might be, not just with what is. Immerse yourself in the immediate future 5 to 7 years out from today. We need to go beyond technology and data to reach human insights and wisdom. Technology represents the how of change, but humans represent the why. The future is about holistic business model. The opportunity is to be liquid, to learn just in time, not just in case, not single improvements, but complete transformations, not individual systems, but new ecosystems. Humanity is where true and lasting value is created. We will engage, relate, and buy things because of the experiences they provide, because of their transformative power. The future doesn't just happen, the future gets happened. The new way to work is to embrace technology, but not to become it. The future is in technology, yet the bigger future lies in transcending it. Let's live and lead from here.
I hope you liked that video. I always like to show that video because it captures so much of what is happening in the fourth industrial revolution. I'm sure we have lots we can talk about with the video and lots of the themes that were raised and issues and the topics I hope to touch on in the remaining part of my talk. So let's get going. So I will divide up my talk into three parts. The first will cover life in Industry 4.0, and then I will talk about what education might look like in Industry 4.0, and then I will end with some practical strategies and tips and advice for how to teach and learn in the fourth industrial revolution. So let's talk about life in the fourth industrial revolution. One word that often comes to mind is easy. So we have things, especially in Taiwan context, would be the PC home, which I've done some research, and I hope this is equivalent to what we would call Amazon in the US. Within a matter of ordering something online a day or even a day or two, and sometimes less, you can get it delivered to your house. You also have things like Honest Bee, where you can use that app to order food from a restaurant, and then someone will be able to pick that up and deliver it to your house within a matter of an hour or less. And so it is definitely a characteristic of life in the fourth industrial revolution. There's also another word that often comes to mind, which is fast. Things are happening so fast, as the video has described, that things are moving not just gradually, but suddenly. And so you have things like banking, where you can simply take a picture of a check and then it will be automatically deposited. Compared to how it used to be, where you would have to go to a bank and then wait in line and then deposit the check and so on. Now you just use your phone, snap a picture, and you're done. There's also text messaging, which is still the most immediate and the most direct way to communicate in the world. You can send a text, and within a millisecond, somebody else would be able to get it and be able to respond to it. And so it is definitely a fast-moving world. A third word that I would use to describe the fourth industrial revolution is this sense of on-demand. You have summoning a car. In the U.S., Uber is one of the biggest car service that you can use. You simply use an app and you click on it, and within a matter of minutes, you will have a car arriving, coming to you and taking you to where you need to go. And in terms of entertainment, Netflix, I looked this up, and I think in Taiwan you do have Netflix as well. This is where you can go and basically watch anything they have in their library of hundreds of thousands of movies on demand. And this is definitely life in the fourth industrial revolution. We have moved from what we call a desktop world to a mobile world in the last, I'd say, 10 years. And in the next, in recent years, we've moved from mobile to what we are, calling wearables. You have your watches and your bands that are keeping track of what you're doing and where you're going, and things are being tracked all the time. And then we are also having this sort of immersive experience, with VR, with augmented reality. More and more so, our experiences in life in the fourth industrial revolution is very immersive. And then this most recent development, it has not hit many parts of the world. In, I would say, some parts of Europe, they're experimenting with this, as well as in the U.S., where things are getting implanted. These chips that people are implanting in their bodies. We already have that in the medical field. With heart monitors, and with different types of health monitors that people already have, but it's going to be even more so in society. And so with these changes, it's also bringing about very serious challenges. According to one survey, the average person checks his or her phone 80 times a day. And that's every 12 minutes we're reaching for our phone throughout the day. There's another study that looked at how American households, adults in particular, they spend an average of 11 hours on digital devices a day. Granted, most of our work nowadays requires some sort of computer, and so we're sitting in front of a screen. But this is one of those, a phenomenon where most of our waking hours we are in front of a digital device of one sort or another. And then a third study looked at the number of texts that are sent. And again, this is American context, so I apologize that this may or may not be relevant in Taiwan. But adults, they send an average of 32 text messages a day. I would say this is actually kind of on the low side. If you look at some of the maybe younger adults, they may probably double that or triple that on average. And for sure, in the teenage age group, they definitely send hundreds of text messages. According to Neil Postman, he was a futurist, a writer in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And in one of his books called Technopoly, The Surrender of Culture to Technology, he talks about technology as having an ecological impact. And what he means by that is that the the changes that are happening in terms of how technology is changing the world isn't just changing the one or two things that technology fields, sort of is mostly impacting, but rather it's changing the whole environment. So think about it this way. So if a caterpillar is eliminated from our ecosystem, it isn't just a caterpillar being eliminated, but you will also have no more butterflies. And when you have no butterflies, then there's this sort of butterfly effect, which is what that word comes from. And this idea of one little thing that happens here changes the entire ecosystem. There's also another insidious characteristic of life in the fourth industrial revolution. And Adam Adler, who is a professor from New York University, he talks about this idea of being endless. Uh, the way we consume media today, he says, is such that there are no stopping cues. The news feed just rolls on and everything's bottomless. So if you think about every imaginable feeds that you read, whether it's a news feed or a Facebook feed or a Twitter feed, there is really no bottom. You can spend hours, if not days, and keep scrolling, and it would just keep going and going and going. And so, what this is doing, he argues, is that it's creating a lot of anxieties and stress. In particular, there's certain apps that make us less happy, and which is what his TED Talk is about. Social networking apps, dating apps, gaming apps, entertainment apps, news apps, and just sort of mindless browsing. We spend probably a good chunk of our day doing those things, and the more we do that, the less happy we are. There's also this movement that's happening in life in the fourth industrial revolution that is trying to point out how technology is making us more shallow and more alone. So we have folks like Sherry Turkle, who is an MIT professor, and then who talks about this idea that human relationships are in some ways degrading in the midst of this technological changes. So Nicholas Carr wrote a book called, actually, he started with an article called "Is Google Making Us Stupid?" And then he went on to write a book about um, called The Shallows. And he basically argues that technology is changing the way our brain is developing. And so if you think about how when you read a news feed item about some cause of, whether it's global warming, whether it's some sustainability cause, and the basic response that most people have is they click the like button. But then the moment they click the like button, they're done. They move on to another initiative or whatever. And so there really is very shallow engagement. And at the same time, we also see situations where people are sitting eating a meal together, as this picture of this guy and this girl, and they're both looking at their phones. They're not communicating. Sherry Turkle says that we expect more from technology than we do from one another nowadays. And also at the bottom right, you see in the picture this guy, he's watching TV, but really he's not. He's watching his phone, and he, maybe looking at a social media channel or something. And so all this is really having fundamental effects on our hierarchy of needs in society. So Maslow in 1943 developed this hierarchy of needs, and basically he argues at the very bottom, we need to have our physiological needs met, so our food, water, shelter, and then once you have that, then the next level of needs would be having some sort of security or safety, and then once you feel safe, then you can then love, and you can then belong, and then if you have that, then you can strive for some sort of self-esteem, and if you have that, then you can have self-actualization, which is sort of the becoming the fullest potential of who you are. But with technology, it's actually creating new base needs. And so I would argue that Wi-Fi has become a very fundamental need in society, especially very developed societies, where first thing that people look for in any new place they go to is a Wi-Fi signal. And then along with that is they're looking to charge their battery. And then I would also argue that mobile devices nowadays is a fundamental need. We oftentimes don't depart from our mobile phones for very long time. It's always next to us. It's in our pockets. It's very, very near. And when someone loses their phone, it feels like they have lost part of who they are, which is very scary. But it's also changing, our very understanding of what the basic needs in society are. This concludes the first part of three-part video presentation. In the next section, I will talk about what education will look like in Industry 4.0.